Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hot Rod Dad channel. Glad you came. Hope you stay. Like, subscribe, comment, share, etc., etc. Y'all, it's been so hot around here. I saw a bird blowing on a worm the other day before he ate him. But I forced myself to get in the garage here this week, and I've got you some updates on the BLT. So y'all stay tuned. So here's one thing I'm working on finishing up on the back end of the BLT right here. This is a bracket that actually I've already installed right here on the car, and unfortunately I have fully welded that up, but you know, I think stylistically this will look a little better, and it'll add just a little bit more gusting right there to the frame. So I think it's worth doing. I think the juice is worth the squeeze in this case. So as you can see right here, I've got this piece already cut out, and I've got my holes located with a punch right there, and I have tack welded this piece to another piece, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and that will ensure that they are exactly alike. And I'll do a little grinding and filing there to get them all, you know, get them both exactly alike. And then I'll go through here and drill the holes while they're still welded together, and then I'll separate them, and at that point I'll be ready to install on the car. All right, both of my pieces are still tacked together. Got everything cut out around the outside right here. I used just a bandsaw and grinder and ground all these flush right here around the edges, and got them both exactly the same as they're still tacked together. Now I'm starting to lay out my holes right here. This one will be for the spring attachment point. The rest of these are just for looks, I guess, for vanity's sake. Just for a stylistic design, I guess you'd say. So this one I'll use a hole saw on, and this one probably end up being about a 3/4 inch, and they'll decrease in size right here. So I'm going to get those knocked out, and we'll see what they look like. Okay, I got my hole drilled for the spring right there, and I've just kind of run the hole saw down just to score that outside of that, so I can see what size that hole's going to be compared to the piece right here. I think I like that size right there. This one, I'm going to open that one on up to about a 3/8 of an inch. When I laid these holes out, I just measured them so that they're evenly spaced, but it didn't occur to me at the time, because these are progressively larger, these two are going to look like they're closer together than these two right here. So this hole may be in the wrong place. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open this one up, and I will go from the outside edge of that hole to the outside edge of this hole, divide that in half, and put this one right in the middle. I think that hole right there will end up falling inside that hole, but it won't be on center. It should be okay, because I can end up drilling that out. So I don't know, we'll see. But that's a little snag I ran into. Okay, so I ended up moving that hole to right there, as you can see, and I'm going to open that one up to, it's going to end up being about a 5/8. So this is a 9/16 drill bit. I'm going to start with that and kind of lay that out right there. See what it looks like. If I'm pleased with the way everything's laid down, I'll go ahead and drill all these holes, and I'll make a pattern of this half over here, lay it on that half over there to make sure that everything's symmetrical. Okay, there's pretty much the finished product right there. I think that turned out pretty cool looking, even if it is just a vanity project. I think it looks pretty cool. I thought about putting one more hole right there, like you can see right here on my original template right there, but I think that would be overkill. So I think I'm just going to leave it just like it is right there, and I'll get the brackets on the frame cut off, and I'll get these stuck on there, and I'll save the final welding until I take the frame apart and do all my final welding on it. All right, I've got the wheel off, and this is absolutely the last thing that I need to be working on this little roadster, but you know, it's totally a vanity thing. But I think the juice is going to be worth a squeeze. I've taken a cutoff wheel and just kind of sliced those welds right there. And that thing's wiggling around like a toddler's tooth waiting on the tooth fairy right there. Just holding on by a thread right there. So I'm going to go ahead and break that off, hopefully. And clean this up right here, and we'll tack her on. So I figured while I had the wheel off right there, I'd go ahead and go through my box of lug nuts right here. Find some lug nuts for the back right there. I only had a couple on there just for mock-up purposes right there. And some of these look rougher than a stucco bathtub. But they're a little pitted, but they're not rounded off, and the threads are still good. And just to make sure, I ran a tap through those real quick. And I always save lug nuts like this off of past projects, or that maybe, you know, was a nicer vehicle. This case I'm building, you know, just a budget beater right here. Just and stuff like that goes a long way in saving the budget. Well, now that I've got those brackets cut out and tacked on the side of the frame, I thought I might just stay on the frame and come back here and finish out this rear section right here that I've been putting off, and kind of get it more dialed in right there. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do back here, but I think I've got it figured out now. So this dimension right here is just about a 2 1/4 of an inch too wide for a standard 2-inch piece of square tubing right there. But I had this 3-inch, and I figured why not just rip down what I needed. So I've cut this section out right here, and it is 1 3/4 inches wide right here, which is the same dimension as the frame. This side right here is 2 inches. I ripped down, and what I'm going to do is put it on there just like that, I think, and round that corner off with a nice radius. And then I will rip this section out right here down to 1/4 of an inch, which is that line right there, if you can see that. And on this side will be, again, this will be the bottom side, and that will be 1 3/4 of an inches right there. So that will match top and bottom. And so after I rip out this section right here, I will just weld that piece and that piece together the whole length of that rear section. It's a lot of welding, but I think it'll be worth it. And then once I get that section welded on and radiused just like the top right here, all that will be left to do right here is cut these pieces out and weld them on with a nice radius around the corner right there. So anyway, that's pretty much what it will look like. And I don't think I will weld this in solid. So what I was thinking, I might just make a tongue right here that goes back there in the frame, and then use these original holes right there, and maybe just bolt that section in. I don't know, I may change my mind on that and just go ahead and weld it up solid and kind of smooth it off. We'll see, but I'm going to get that section ripped out right now, and after I get that done and tacked together, I'll give you some more insight about it. So there's one side down. That's how much I took off that side. I'm just using the angle grinder and a cutoff wheel. I'm not fancy around here. I don't have a plasma cutter and all that cool stuff. So here's the other side right here. I'm gonna get started on that side and get that one knocked out. Shouldn't take but just a few minutes. All right, now you can see that I've got this piece cut out. I've got it tacked on right here. I've got to do just a little bit more work right there, cutting it out. And what I've done right here, I just took a piece of 2-inch square tubing and clamped it on the outside right there to make sure it's all good and square, because 2 inches plus 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2 1/4, which is exactly what I was looking for. So that's the perfect thing to get everything square right here. I've thrown a few tacks on it right here. I'm real tight right here, so what I'll do, I'll go back and take a cutoff wheel, or maybe an 1/8 inch grinder disc, and kind of go in there and bevel that and hog that out just a little bit so that my weld penetrates all the way through to the bottom right there. And then I will be ready to sheet these corners right here with some 1/8 inch flat stock. Okay, I've got that all tacked together right there. I've yet to wrap the ends right there, but I'm going to stick it on the car and see what it looks like. So, right there you get a pretty good idea what that's going to look like. I like it. So now I'll just wrap that around the edge right there. I don't know, I may just weld this up solid. Then again, I may just put a tongue in there and bolt it together. I don't know. After I get this all said and done, the plan is to take the bed floor that I made a while back, and I will trim this. I will trim it off this end right here, and that will just go up flush against the rear section right there. And this will be hinged up at the front so I can lift it. And right up under here I'll have some tool storage. I'll just build a roll pan. It'll look like a roll pan from the outside that'll hang out right here under the bed floor, but it'll actually be a little bit of tool storage. So I'll have to figure out some way of putting a handle or something on this, or some way to open it. So anyway, that's the plan. So the bed floor will kind of come up right up against that right there, and that'll lift up. So I'm hot, tired, and I'm gonna call it quits for this evening, and we'll revisit this tomorrow. Okay, this is where I'm at, back here on this rear section of the frame. And I really like this, but I kind of have one hold up with it. So as you know, if you've watched the channel, that's going to be the bed floor right there. And it's going to go in here. And I spoke in an earlier episode about my plans to make this bed floor lift up and have storage underneath the bed right there. I'm going to build like a roll pan up underneath there, and just have a little storage for tools and whatnot up under there. And then I'll have you know, the bed that I can strap a cooler on, maybe some lawn chairs or whatever. So I really like this design, but the question arises is how am I going to lift the panel right here? So I could put some spring-loaded poppers right there and a latch in the middle, and kind of make it so that I could you know, push a button, release a solenoid or whatever, and pop that trunk up. Or I could redesign this back here a little bit and make it so that I could just lift the lid right there. Because, you know, if the bed floor comes all the way up to this, then there's no finger hold really to get a hold of that. So I'm kind of rethinking this design here a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board here a little bit and see what I can come up with. So y'all stay tuned. Okay, so after kind of racking my brain here for a week about this rear section, I've came up with 2 or 3 ideas. And sometimes I think the best course of action is just to start working on stuff and see what you like, what you don't like. And I've always said that the car will tell you what direction it wants to go. So, start putting things together and start visualizing your what's in your head. Sometimes it takes a different path. So I've whittled down this piece of metal right here out of a piece of 3x3 3/16 angle iron right here, and right here's the piece I cut off of the top right there, and here's the piece I cut off this side. And I've done little trim work right there on the ends. And what I'm thinking is maybe this will just recess back up in there like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down and install it here kind of temporarily so that you can see what it's going to look like. Okay, so now that I've got that installed, you can kind of get an idea of what that's going to look like. It just follows the contour of the frame rail right there. Gives it a nice recessed look right there. I kind of dig it. It'll make a really good foundation for the bed floor. This is a piece of 3/4 inch angle that I had laying around. I think this is going to be the beginnings of my perimeter frame for the bed floor. And it's got the distinct advantage of having a good handhold right here, so you can stick your fingers up under there and lift the lid. May end up getting a latch on it, I don't know. But this whole car has been kind of an exercise in simplicity, so I want to keep it just as simple as can be. You know, I don't want the lid bouncing around, so I may have to figure out some way of securing it there. But I like this, and I've had several ideas bouncing around in my head this week. I may use one or all of them. So, like I said, this is a very good foundation. I can come back and add this piece later if I want to, just like we looked at earlier. Get a little more of a contoured look back here on the back. The other idea I had was a 32 Ford bumper shortened down and put on the back of this right here. I really like the idea of having a trailer hitch on this to haul a small trailer, maybe pull my Simplex motorcycle around on it. So, I don't know, it's a developing story, so y'all stay tuned. All right, I got this piece of 3/4 inch angle clamped on there. I slid just a small washer in behind that and clamped it down just to give it a little space right here so there's no binding right there when I open and close the lid right here. And I've got plenty of this 3/4 inch square tubing right here left over from a job I was on one time. Those are spindles that came off of a fence around a horse ranch. If you watched my video on cool stories and cheap hot rods, well, you know where those came from. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch that. It's a pretty cool story. So I'm going to cut the pieces for the perimeter frame right here now, and then I'll get that welded together, and I got to figure out a hinge right here for the backside. Shouldn't be too hard. I think just a couple of tabs welded onto the frame should do the trick. So here's my first piece that I've got cut out, and right there is just a 1/4 inch piece of flat metal right there. Just a little tab I made, and 5/16 bolt, shoulder bolt that runs through the tubing right there, and I just drilled and tapped that tab right there for that bolt. And so this will sit in here just like that, and that tab, you can see, will slide right up underneath the frame. What I've done right here is I've marked the edges of that tab. I'm going to drill a couple of holes right here from the top just so I can plug weld that, and then I can unbolt the piece right here and have access to it, and I can weld it up right through here. Don't have a real good clamp or any means of clamping that in, so I'm just going to drill those 2 holes and plug weld that from the top just to hold it in place, and then I will fully weld it when I put the frame in for good. Okay, let me turn that welder off so we're not have to listen to that, and I'll show you how that turned out. Pretty good, I think. So I can just take a flapper wheel right there and clean that up, and you can see right here how that's gonna work right there. So that'll just raise up like that, and next I'll just weld that piece right there to that angle right there, and then I've got just enough room right here to weld on another piece between the bolt and that piece going across. So I think that'll work out really nice. So far I'm pretty tickled with this. And then I'll come back here and weld a piece across right there for a middle brace. Then it'll be ready to sheet. Man, I am so stoked about this. So I've got the perimeter frame all tacked together right there now. I've got one more brace to put in the middle, and this is how this is going to operate right here. Man, I'm digging that. So if I wanted to remove it to work on anything, just unbolt those 2 front bolts right there, and I can just lift that right out. And then after I get this all done, I can build my roll pan right here slash storage unit. So that will be really cool. Okay, now I've got all of the frame welded up here, and I hit those top welds with a flapper disc right there to flatten them out. And I also cleaned all the surface rust off of the this piece of angle right here. So I can finally start fitting the sheet metal panel right there to the top. I've got one more brace to put in right here, but I need to see where the holes line up for this panel right there, because I want to use the original holes in that embossed section right there to line up with that brace, and I'll just bolt that panel to the brace right there. It'll have another row of holes right here, but it's so close to the edge that I'll just put a bolt through those to fill those in, and it'll make it look like it's bolted down, but it won't be right there. Just only right there in the center. And I don't know, I may come in here and put a brace in the middle too, going that way. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to get started fitting this panel, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, I've got the frame flipped upside down. I laid it on top of the embossed panel right here. I've got it all clamped down around the edges. Got the outside marked so I can trim it down. I've installed my center brace right there, aligned with the embossed holes in the panel. And now I'm going to go ahead and mark those holes. I'll flip it over first, mark those holes, take the panel off, cut it down, and hopefully then I can install it for the final time. Okay, I've taken everything back out. I had this panel in for the final fitting. I've got the gas tank out, and I'm just going to do some finishing up on the back of the rails right here. So I had this piece in there, if you recall, just temporary to hold the 2 frame horns together right there and get everything squared up. I kind of had in mind that I would leave it permanently, as the piece that I cut to go in here just butted right up against that, and I was planning on coming in here and just kind of throwing some welds in there kind of intermittently down through there and leaving it in there. This would be a pretty good place to hang a license plate right there. But had a thought right here to finish out the back of these frame rails. So this is interfering with that. So I'm just going to take a cutoff wheel, cut that off, and I may still put it back in and just move it to the inside. I don't know. That would make a good beefy, cross member basically back here for the back. And that's the reason I cut this back piece right here out of a good thick piece of 3/16 steel right there. So it's basically going to support the lid right there and also act as a cross member. So if I put this back in there and tie it in with that rear cross member, it'll be good and beefy, and that's what I want. So I'm gonna cut that out for right now and kind of reassemble everything and try a little something back here on the back, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so here's the reason I removed that piece of angle off the bottom of the frame right there. And that is, as I was sitting around brainstorming this week, I had a thought to maybe use this pair of Model A frame horns to extend the frame right here and possibly use a spreader bar right here in between. I don't know, just another option. We'll have to see how that pans out, I guess. So I just rolled the BLT out in the daylight right here just to get a better look at it. Sometimes you just need to roll a project outside the confines of your garage just to kind of take a visual tour of it, kind of a visual assessment to see if you like the direction it's headed. Look at it from some different angles and just get some perspective about it. I've changed a few things about this car, like those brackets right there. I like the way those turned out, and I think the juice was worth the squeeze on that. They look a lot better than the ones that was on there, I believe. I'm really digging the lid back here on the back as well and how it turned out. You can see right there the framework that I built inside here for the lid, and down here will be the roll pan / storage unit. So I guess that begs the question, is this a car or a truck? Is that a trunk lid or a bed floor or both? I don't know. All I know is I dig it. I'm still kind of undecided about how I'm going to finish this back section out right here. This is one option. That's a Model A frame horn right there. I've got a pair of those that are aftermarket, been laying around here for a long time. I could cut those off, weld those on the frame, and kind of give it a rounded off look back there in the back, and kind of an early Ford look right there. If I do this, then I'll be also doing a spreader bar. And while I was kind of figuring out what I would use for one, I found this in the scrap pile. This is a part of a 1947 to 54 Chevy truck brake system. So this bar right here would go behind the cab. There would be a lever on either end that bolted on, as well as this one, and through a series of levers and rods it actuated the rear emergency brakes. So I really like the little dip in it right here. So I think that would make, it's just about the right length. I think that would make a pretty cool spreader bar back here. So it would look something like this. And that dip right there almost looks intentional. It almost looks as if it was made to pull the vehicle. You know, it'd be kind of cool if I could make this so that it swivels. I don't know. Or I could just make it so that it's stationary. Although I don't know why you'd be pulling a vehicle backwards like that unless you run off in a ditch. I'm going to try not to do that. So that's one option. I could run it without anything back here, which is probably what an early hot rodder would do, because, you know, back then they just stripped anything and everything off of a vehicle in the pursuit of speed. So that's one option, or two options, I guess. Third option would be to use this piece that I originally started out with and you know, weld it on here, and it kind of gives the frame a finished off look. It makes it look like just part of the frame. I really like the looks of that, but it kind of limits your access to the lid right here. So the way it is right now, you can stick your fingers up under there and just lift the lid. So if I do that, I will have to come up with some kind of a popper so that it pops the lid up there, and you can then reach your fingers up under there and raise it, which is not a big deal. But like I said, this car has been an exercise in simplicity. So as a nod to the you know, early hot rodders, if it doesn't need to be there, I don't know if I want it there. I don't know. The last option would be an abbreviated 1932 Ford bumper. So it would stand out here about 1 inch, I guess. Still leave you a little bit of room right there. You can stick your fingers up under there, and then it would wrap around the ends right here. I guess I need to give y'all a picture at the end here of a 32 Ford bumper for reference. I don't have one around here. I'll have to source one if I do that. And you know, let me know what direction you think I should go. Leave me a comment down in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all get out there and build something.